Hello, beauty. Alexandra Joy Smith here. Here to talk to you, to share with you in this soul class about the how-tos, or really the secret principles based on cosmic laws, on how to not just survive, but thrive during life's biggest challenges. And some could say we've had several of those over these last years. Yet, in my experience, some of the greatest challenges are the ones that create the most fear in us, in our systems. It actually triggers a part of the brain, the animal part of our brain. They refer to it in neuroscience and on many platforms, they refer to it as the reptilian brain. It's a lower brain stem. It's responsible for reacting to whether we are experiencing a threat. Now, in animals, what's interesting is that in threat, an animal will move away from, for the most part. So they'll either fight, flight, move away from, or they'll freeze. But once they return to safety, which usually in kind of a predatory experience, if they return to safety, if they make it, their systems go back to a normalization. That triggered response turns off in the system. But in human beings, we actually continue in our memory banks, or can continue in our memory banks, to re-trigger ourselves to feel unsafe again. Much of this is based in a response which is based in fear. Now, one of the things, as I said, in my experience, that can create the most fear in our system is when we have felt betrayed, or there's been a level of feeling deceived. And this could happen in a marriage, in infidelity. This could happen in a social group, or with what we consider a true friend, a work colleague, in a family dynamic, or with a family member. So what I'm about to run through with you, or flow through with you, are 5 principles around how to calm the system down in a way that uses the beauty of your mind versus the mind throwing you into some kind of memory or triggered response of what has happened, because it thinks it's keeping you safe by showing you where potential landmines could be, again, in the field of life. So these are 5 more mentally based principles to use when you need them, when your system needs them. So the first is, and I call them the 5T's, by the way. So the first is transmute. And we transmute by creating an intention to transmute. Okay, what does that mean? So when we bring through our systems a soul-filled intention, we're actually creating an energy through using the beauty of our minds to do so. We're creating an intention out into the universe. We're putting an intention out into the universe. And wherever you put your intention, energy flows. So you're putting your attention with your intention to use what has occurred, okay? Using what has occurred in your life as something that is your greatest teacher. So it's an intention to reframe. An intention to reframe. And you'll see how this kind of morphs into the second T. But the first T is get clear you are not a victim, that life is happening for you, not to you. And that's kind of an essential foundation of awakening, is getting that life is for you, that you're not a victim, that you're actually an empowered, exquisite human soul having a spiritual experience, being spiritual. So 1, transmute by creating the soul-filled intention that life is happening for you and that everything is a teaching. Now that kind of merges and morphs into the second T, which is transform. So transform by seeing the failure, or however your mind has constructed it, the failure or the pain or the fear or the great or betrayal or the experiencing being deceived as your greatest teacher. So I'm not saying it's not really hard to do this when you're in the middle of fight or flight or freeze and you're in that physiological response to create a reframe, like I said in the first T, transmuting. I'm not saying it's easy, but breathe into the fear, breathe into the betrayal, breathe, bring your breath to transform and to use your mind to create, again, the context that it's all happening for you, and it's actually a guide post. It's like a sign on the path of life that you were not headed in the right direction, and you need to take a detour, or you need to readjust or pivot your path. And if it's in a relationship, that needs to be declared between the two of you, is that what has occurred is actually a signpost that has to have us have a real conversation, or, you know, really alter how it's been going so that it's not created in the future. So it's a signpost. It's like a big neon sign saying, time to shift, time to change, time to transform, and to move away from the way it's been going to a new path. So we want to transform by creating that any failure and or fear of feeling fear is something that occurs as a signpost. Number 3 is transcend. Now, again, I'm not saying this can't be challenging, but we want to transcend our feeling body. And what do I mean by that? We want to breathe into our feeling body and get really, really more at ease, more comfortable with the feelings that we've labeled. Often it's not the feeling of the sensations of fear or whatever is occurring in the body that we label and react to, and then tell a story around why it's there. You know, oh, I'm feeling fear because this happened. It's really, that's actually just laying the foundation of that fear being there for longer. You're just myelinating it, or in other terms, you're just laying down more train tracks around the story. So what you want to do is get very, very comfortable with discomfort of the feet sensations, and you want to breathe into them. Breathe into the sensations. You locate them first in the body, and then you bring the breath of life, the breath of spirit. Breath is everything. It gives us life. So you want to breathe into the sensations, and instead of naming them, feel them. Because it's not the feeling in your body that feels like it will take you down. It's the feeling that you're resisting feeling in the body that feels like it's going to take you down. So that's how we transcend. So number 4 is transfigure. Big word. And we transfigure by taking baby steps. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself with having to take massive action. You know, oh, I have to have this huge conversation with the person that I feel betrayed by, or the person that I feel hasn't been truthful with me. You want to focus on taking one moment at a time, one breath at a time, and taking one step at a time, and being highly attuned to where you're feeling your feelings, those sensations in your body. Breathe breath to them and transfigure by just being in tiny moments of action. You know, sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I've had the experience. It can be really freaking hard to move through life's biggest challenges. But if you actually are present to your body, present to the sensations, you can transfigure by just doing what feels good in that particular moment. And in that particular moment might be, I'm just gonna go, for me, it's make my cup of matcha in the morning, or, make pancakes for my children. You just do what's in front of you, and you get highly attuned to what it feels like just to be in the breath, be present to your sensations in action that feels attuned. You get really close to yourself, really close, up close to your feeling body versus being in your head thinking you have to take, massive action all at once. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Transpose by finding things that make you laugh. Now, when I kind of heard that, or someone told me that, or a mentor I was working with told me that when I was in some of my life's biggest challenges, I was like, are you kidding me? I can barely get my head off the pillow, let alone find things to make me laugh. But here's the thing, laughter actually increases the intake of oxygen, rich air, stimulates your heart, your lungs, your muscles, and increases your endorphins. So if you can turn off your stress response by turning on your laughter response, and sometimes it's like turning on a stupid movie, turning on, or going to see a ridiculous comedian, finding just a little bit of laughter and pleasure in the moment can adjust your physiology, which adjusts your state, which adjusts what's on your mind, what you're thinking about, which also adjusts how you are experiencing the moment, how you're feeling in your body. So those are the 5 T's. They're a little more of the mind, but they're just labeling what you can do, giving your mind something to kind of play with that actually shift your body and has you shift more into an embodied state so that you can be anchored and embodied no matter what is occurring around you, no matter what challenges show up. It is an illusion to think that life won't give you challenges, because that's part of why we're here. We actually came into this iteration of self to experience life's challenges. That could be a creative act, except that we want to make sure we have the tools that keep us in our bodies and not, quote unquote, splatted out onto what occurs that brings us out of our channel, out of our beautiful connection to our higher selves. So hoping my soulful intention is that this conversation made a huge difference in this soul class. Sending you love and light, and see you in our next conversation, our next soul class.